What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from MTG down there on the YouTube.com, and today I got more Kaladesh spoilers. That's going to keep happening for a while here. We got like 14 of them today, which is kind of a lot, but some things aren't as important, but there is one card that we've sort of all been waiting for, and I'm going to work our way up to it. We're going to sort of go in the order of importance, at least from my perspective. Let's go ahead and try it out. Long Tusk Cub is 2 mana for a 2/2, so he's really a bear, but his creature type is cat. Whenever Long Tusk Cub deals combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters, and you can pay 2 energy counters, isn't that convenient, to put a +1/+1 counter on Long Tusk Cub. Pretty good and limited right here. This is a great way to fill out your curve in the aggressive decks in that limited environment. We'll have to see what it does in sort of budget stompy decks and stuff. This might not be a bad 2-drop for stompy, depending on what else we see with energy counters. I'm not really sure from at least this point. But I like it a lot, you know, and it facilitates some strategies in limited. You'll see a couple as we move through the list here. So I like it for specific green decks in sealed and draft. But aside from that, I'm just not really sure it has any importance. We'll see about stompy, but I think we got better stuff. Snapping Gnarlid's probably better. Gearhulks Guide is 3 mana. That's 2 generic and a green for a 3/2 elf with pay 2 generic and a green. Target creature you control can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less until end of turn. Well, this works with Long Tusk Cub pretty well, you know. You get him through for combat damage, you get your energy stuff, and you can get him bigger, you know. So in limited, this is a cool, like, curve. But even in limited, it's also kind of weird, you know. You play this turn 3, turn 4, you get your smaller guys through. But do you? By turn 4, they're probably going to have guys that can block your dudes, even if you use this guy's ability. So I'm just not sure. And then you don't get to play anything on turn 4, you know. Or even later on in the game. I'm not really sure, you know, in sealed on turn 8. How great is this? You know what I mean? So, card looks somewhat attractive, you know, 3 mana, 3 power, not bad. So you'll probably end up playing it in limited, sort of fill out your curve a little bit. But I don't think it's as good as it sort of reads at first. Arborback Stomper is a 5 mana, that's 3 generic and 2 green. 5/4 beast with trample, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. I think this is actually also like borderline playable in budget decks, you know, especially decks looking to gain a bunch of life. You know, this works pretty well with the Eldrazi Displacer, right? You know, gain at least 5, if not like 10 life every turn. Wisp Weaver Angel is 6 mana, that's 4 generic and 2 green for a 4/4 angel that flies, obviously. When Wisp Weaver Angel enters the battlefield, you may exile another target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So Blink Angel, that's neat. You know, I think this is also mostly sealed playable and probably draft playable too if you're drafting up the ETBs deck, you know. It'd be cool, you know, 5th turn, the thing that gains you 5 life, the 5 mana 5/4, and then 6th turn this, you know. If you can actually curve that way in limited, that seems really good, but that's not going to happen too often. But you can obviously draft the 2 cards together. They're both uncommon, so there's that. Looks pretty decent to me, at least in limited environments, but outside of that, really costs a lot of mana. Armorcraft Judge is a 4 mana, that's 3 generic and a green, 3/3 Elf Artificer with, when Armorcraft Judge enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. This also works with Long Tusk Cub. Look at that, you know, if he's got counters, you can draw cards in limited. But I think this also may be fringe playable in commander decks that want to put counters on creatures. I'm sure that there's a bunch of those. So this could actually be maybe playable in that. Drawing cards is one of the best things you can do in the game. So in some environments, this doesn't look awful, you know, but in limited, it all depends. It works pretty well with the Fabricate mechanic. That's something to point out at least. So I could see it being, you know, a role player. Fortuitous Find is 3 mana, that's 2 generic and a black for a sorcery. Choose one or both. Return target artifact creature from your graveyard to your hand, and return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Well, in the right sealed or draft deck, you know, this is card advantage, you know. You pay 1 card, you get 2 cards back. That's pretty cool right there. And I love that it's common because it might actually have some effect on Pauper. You know, I don't think there's really any cards in Pauper that can do this at all. You know, artifact and a creature at the same time, you get them back. That's actually a fairly powerful effect, and again, card advantage is always good. So I'm not really sure about anything other than Pauper and limited. Definitely limited, and this is very, very good, especially in this format that looks to put artifacts in the graveyard fairly easily. So again, limited, not really sure about standard. Again, maybe some sort of budget deck. Or, you know, there looks to be a weird with like, what was it, Oval Chase Daredevil. It looks to be a weird like black artifacts deck, but it's probably mostly going to be a deck that you can draft up. I'm not sure about its power level outside of that. Morbid Curiosity is 3 mana, that's 1 generic and 2 black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, you have to sacrifice an artifact or a creature, and you draw cards equal to the converted mana cost of the sacrificed permanent. I like it a little bit, and maybe possibly could see some standard play, although I'm not really sure how much. But in limited, maybe, you know, this kind of card advantage, as long as you sacrifice at least a 3-drop, seems pretty good. And we've got stuff that can bring things back from the graveyard. We just saw a card that can put a card in an artifact back into your hand from the yard, so seems to play well with this. So I don't mind the card, looks pretty good. Bomat Bazaar Barge B cubed is a 4-mana 5/5 artifact. It's a vehicle, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and you can crew it for 3. Now, I gotta admit, as much as I don't like the cars thing, the vehicles deck is looking pretty stock right now, like the Boros vehicles deck. Because, you know, 3rd turn you play your Depala, then 4th turn you play this, 5th turn she crews this by herself, and you can get card advantage off Depala. And you've already gotten card advantage off of this, you know. I like this because they're like, let's just make Elvish Visionary really big and mean. So I do like that about it. And I think Boros has a lot of things going for it. Everyone wants to see the equipments deck. That's looking pretty good right now too. And everybody wants to see the stupid vehicles deck. A lot of people have asked me about it. And honestly, it's looking better every day. Like, it looks like a kind of aggressive deck. And not only aggressive, but like, it can keep cards in its hand. You know, this draws a card, Depala gives you a lot of card advantage sometimes, so maybe this is actually better than people think it is. We'll see. Trinket Mastercraft is 3 mana, that's 2 generic and a white for a 3/2 dwarfed artificer with servo and Thopter creatures you control get +1/+1. You can also pay 3 generic and a white and create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. I like it. I like it a lot. Another thing that's a lord for 2 different creature types. Really, really good with the Fabricate mechanic, good with existing Thopters and things that create Thopters, you know. So at least in sort of a casual Thopter or Servo deck, this could be really, really good. Obviously, it's a sort of auto 4-of. A celebrity, Pia Nalar, right here. This is Chandra's mom. 3 mana, 2 generic and a red for a legendary human artificer. She's a 2/2. When Pia Nalar enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. She also has pay a generic and a red, target artifact creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. If that weren't enough, she also has pay a generic, sack an artifact, target creature can't block this turn. Chandra's mom does an awful lot of stuff, and she facilitates herself, you know, creates a Thopter that she can then sacrifice and not let a creature block, or she can give that same Thopter a power boost and let him swing in, you know, that's cool. Really like this an awful lot, actually, just a lot of value on this card. A lot of different things she can do, so I am a fan a lot. I hate that she's legendary, but she obviously has to be. I hate that we can't play Pia and Kuran in the same format with this, because they would curve really, really well. That would be super good. So there's also that loss. I really like all of the Thopter generating red cards from the last standard. I like, you know, Whirler Rogue, the blue card too, and Thopter Spy Network, another blue card. Really hate that that deck is more or less rotating, but we seem to be getting like a red, maybe red-white version of it. So I really like the idea of that deck. I've always liked Thopters. And I really like this card. Goes a long way and goes well with the last card we just saw. So Pia might actually be a thing. I like her more than that white thing we just saw, to be honest with you. I think she's a lot better and more of a standalone card than that is. Although it's not a bad card. This is just much better, I would say. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see this in actual standard deck lists. Metallurgic Summonings is a weird enchantment. It's 5 mana, that's 3 generic and 2 blue for an enchantment, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And you can pay 5, that's 3 generic and 2 blue, and exile Metallurgic Summonings to return all instant and sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. But you can only activate this ability if you control 6 or more artifacts. Okay, so I know this is like only halfway through the list, but this could be legacy playable. Like, I know it costs 5 mana. That's intensely prohibitive. So I totally get why it's tough to play in older formats, but those decks play a lot of instants and sorceries and a fair amount of artifacts. So like, this could almost, like, I want to see somebody try to do this in Vintage. But, you know, even if you're trying to just build around it in Standard, it's a little harder because 6 artifacts is really tough to get to. But even if you're just going off that first ability, you can create a bunch of artifacts. The formats that can take advantage of this most are going to be the older formats that do that anyway. So really interested to see where this card goes. If nowhere, if that makes sense. But if it actually does something, I wouldn't be surprised. Harness Lightning is 2 mana, a generic and a red for an instant. Choose target creature. You get 3 energy counters, then you may pay any amount of energy. Harness Lightning deals that much damage to that creature. Well, new Lightning Strike, this is not, and I hate that it can't hit players, but if it did hit players, it would be pretty busted. I mean, 3 energy is really nice. I do like that you can, kill a 1 or 2 toughness guy and keep an energy or 2. That's really, really flexible, Really like the card, like that it's instant speed removal, sort of replaces Draconic Roar. In a way, again, all depends on how important energy is, but it's looking like it might be real. Demolition Stomper is a 6 mana artifact. It's a vehicle. It's a 10/7, and Demolition Stomper can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. It takes 5 power to crew this thing. Let's get this out of the way. 5 power to crew it is an awful lot. Like, that is a lot of manpower to crew this thing. But at the same time, crew 5 might not be as much as we think it is. And the best thing about this is that it gets around tokens-based strategies. That is very, very good. They can't chump block it unless they've got an emblem or 2 out, So that's really, really good. Like that about it. Aside from that, I'm not really seeing too much. I mean, I think that it's insane and limited. You probably want to play at least the one-of copy of this. We're getting into some really good stuff here. This is Cataclysmic Gearhulk. He's 5 mana. That's 3 generic and 2 white for a 4/5 construct, and he has Vigilance. Whenever Cataclysmic Gearhulk enters the battlefield, each player chooses from among the non-land permanents he or she controls an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker, then sacrifices the rest. So the name goes back to Cataclysm, but it sort of looks like a Tragic Arrogance that they get to choose what they keep, which makes it not as good as an effect as Tragic Arrogance at all. Tragic Arrogance is really, really good. But this is still very, very nice. I like the cost on it is great. This Gearhulk cycle, I'm so glad that it's a cycle. I can't really want to see what the other colors do. And everyone's saying that we saw the green one first and it's going to be the worst one. Who knows? But this white one looks really, really nice, obviously. And note that it's an artifact. That means that you can keep it as your artifact and keep a second creature. That's cool, especially if that creature is Eldrazi Displacer. That just seems freaking hilarious. So there's that to look forward to. Voltaic Brawler is really awesome. This is 2 mana, just a red and a green, for a 3/2 human warrior with, when Voltaic Brawler enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. When Voltaic Brawler attacks, you may pay an energy counter. If you do, it gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. Well, I do have to point out that you can only pay 1 energy once when he swings in. You only get 1 time that you're able to do that. So the most you can make him is or biggest you can make him is a 4/3, but that's really good for 2 mana. Obviously, 2 mana 4 power guys are great, and this looks very nice in a red-green aggressive shell, and there's already a green-red aggro deck in the format, so this looks super nice. Good pickup for it. And we just got the new Lightning Strike thing, I guess is what we'll call it. The thing that gives you 3 energy and can target creatures. That looks to be good in combination with this. You can't tell, I'm pretty amped about this. It's been a while since we've seen a really, really obviously good aggro creature in the format. And I think this is a signal, maybe, that there could be a truly awesome, red-green deck coming up. Could be wrong. It may be the completely wrong environment for it. We may have to wait 6 months. Who knows? But the card looks pretty stupid good to me, and could actually see play in other formats too. So this is just a very powerful card that facilitates its own. It facilitates itself. It gets bigger. I'm stuttering because I'm super excited about this awesome aggro creature, and I'm really excited about the next card I get to talk about. But just obviously, this guy's really, really, really good. So yay! If you thought I was gushing then, wait until this thing. We've got Chandra, the Mind Sculptor. Basically, it's actually Chandra, Torch of Defiance. 4 mana, that's 2 generic and 2 red for a 4/4 planeswalker. You can +1 her to exile the top card of your library. You may cast that card. If you don't, Chandra, Torch of Defiance deals 2 damage to each opponent. You can also +1 her, again with that, to add 2 red to your mana pool. You can -3 her to have Chandra, Torch of Defiance deal 4 damage to target creature, and you can -7 her, and this is her ultimate, you get an emblem with, whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to target creature or player. Hashtag best Chandra ever. Like, seriously, I know that a lot of people like Flamecaller, and I've played a lot with Flamecaller. I love that card. Really, really fantastic planeswalker. And there's a lot of decks that use her in the current meta. But this just looks stupid good, obviously. And comparisons to Jace the Mind Sculptor are inevitable. We've already made one. But let me just go ahead and get this out of the way, the inevitable comparisons. Here's both of them. Chandra has 2+1s where Jace has a +2 and basically a plus or minus 0. That's a pretty big difference, although Chandra gets an extra loyalty counter when she enters the battlefield. They both remove creatures, but it's kind of a crapshoot. You know, she can only remove some creatures, but she removes them forever. Jace can remove anything, but they'll come back. That's an issue, although Jace is very, very good tempo. But the thing with Chandra, too, is that she goes down to 1 loyalty if you use her ability to protect herself when she enters the battlefield. And that's not great. It's pretty easy to kill her at that point. So even if you've removed a creature, they can sometimes get through for 1 damage pretty easily on her. So there are gripes about the card, and obviously if we're comparing ultimates, Jace's can just win the game more or less immediately, and Chandra's doesn't do that, although it will win the game pretty quickly, you know, especially if you just ultimate her immediately at the start of your turn, or at the start of your first main, and then cast a spell or 2, well, you can just hit him for 10. So it could also win the game pretty easily for you. Her 2+1s, I hate that she doesn't get a +2, but it is great that she gets 2+1s, are both good. One is ramp, and that is freaking awesome, allowing you to maybe drop a 7-drop on turn 5 pretty easily. Or you can deal damage to the opponent with her +1, you know, her first +1. You can also get card advantage off of her first +1, but you can't do both. So there's that. It's just removal on a stick, just everything is good. Planeswalkers with 4 abilities are traditionally ridiculous. So look out for Chandra. I think this is definitely the best incarnation of her we've ever seen. As far as I'm concerned, this does not disappoint. This is one of the best Planeswalkers we've seen in quite a while. Let me know why I'm wrong, and I've already pointed out a couple of things. You know, I don't like that her ability to protect herself puts her at 1 loyalty. That's sort of counterintuitive. But aside from that, pretty much everything is great about this Planeswalker. For a long time, people griped about how Chandra's not good and we'll never see a good Chandra. Like, even after Flamecaller started ripping stuff up, people were like, hey, we need a better Chandra, she's 6 mana. How's this? As far as I'm concerned, this is an amazing Planeswalker, and I don't think it'll break the format. It all depends on what it goes in. Can we finally build Big Red because of this thing? Is Jund a thing? Everyone wants to know if Jund's a thing whenever a red, green, or black card gets spoiled, so I'm just going to add to the chorus there. Is she good in, you know, non-mid-range decks, maybe a curve topper and an aggro deck? I don't necessarily think so. I think she'll go really well in the, you know, the ramp decks. Love that other +1 she's got as far as that goes. So lots of good stuff. Will we have to wait until Flamecaller rotates to see her? Don't know about that. Will she go and deploy the Gatewatch? Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes. So card is really, really ridiculously good, everybody. So here's Chandra. It's actually lucky that I was around to record this video after I saw that Chandra, because like my head came like so close to exploding. My head was like this big. Really though, like if you can't tell, I am jacked about that Chandra. Looks really good to me. Let me know how you feel about her and everything else here, and look forward to more Kaladesh spoilers in the very super near future, and I'll be back with them. If you enjoyed this content, hit the thumbs up button and sub if you're new, and I will see you guys later. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.